All right, so let's zoom in on the resource management part. So now if you look at this picture, your client will submit an application, right? Your client wants to run some application in your cluster, right? So what kind of applications can be run? We'll talk about that. But now, for now, just think about it as any application which requires multiple, tasks to be launched. Okay. So in other words, you'll have multiple processes running in your cluster, and these processes can run on multiple machines, right? Because Hadoop is a distributed processing framework. So your application, whatever application you want to run in this cluster, it will have multiple processes running, right? Every application will have multiple processes running in the cluster, and all these processes will be processing data in parallel, right? So what kind of applications we can run, we'll just talk about that. For now, just think that there is any application that a client wants to run in the cluster. So client will talk to the resource manager which is running on your master machine, and your resource manager within itself has two parts. One is the scheduler, right? Scheduler is basically used to just schedule jobs from multiple clients. So for example, let's say 10 clients have submitted 10 applications in the cluster, right? Your scheduler will just kind of, based on the policies that you have configured, it will kind of try to figure out which should be the next application in the queue. Okay, whenever your cluster is fully utilized, let's say all the CPUs in your cluster are being used at this moment, and there are multiple applications in the queue, then your scheduler will decide which application will get the resources next, right? And then your resource manager has a applications manager. So within the resource manager, you have a component called applications manager. Okay, so applications manager is basically which gets an application from the scheduler. Okay, scheduler will decide which applications will get the resources. It will give that application to the applications manager. Okay, applications manager will then try to find out a free container on a data node, or in other words, a slave node, I would say, right? Now what is a container? A container is nothing but a JVM. A container is just like a piece of CPU and memory. Okay, because to run any process you need CPU and memory, right? Every slave node is running node manager, right? These node managers are aware of the amount of CPU and memory present on this slave node. So let's take example of this first orange box. This first orange box is a slave node, right? On this slave node, you are running a process called node manager, right? Which is a client for the resource manager, right? This node manager knows how much CPU and how much RAM is present on this particular slave node, right? So your applications manager, by talking to this node manager, can figure out how many resources are available on this slave node, right? And now, and let's call these resources as containers. So let's say this is a machine which has 4 CPUs and let's say 20 gigabytes of RAM. Okay, and you have configured every container to have 1 CPU and 5 gigabytes of RAM. Okay, so in other words, you have 4 containers on a particular slave node, or in other words, you can run 4 parallel tasks on this particular slave node, right? Now your applications manager, when it wants to run an application, it will first talk to different node managers and it will find one free container. So first task is to find one free container, right? Once it has found one free container in the cluster, it will launch an applications master there. Now guys, just look at all these names. You have a resource manager, right? We already know what is resource manager. It is the manager of all the resources in your system, all the CPU and memory. Then you have node managers. It is just like any hierarchy in any organization, right? You have a kind of higher level manager, and then you have low level managers working under him. All these managers are reporting to this high level manager, and all these managers have resources with them, right? They have their team members, which you can think of as resources. Whenever a high level manager wants to uh, uh, kind of give any or give any project down the system, it will first talk to its reporting managers. It will figure out which reporting manager has free resources, right? And then it will try to assign that project to that particular manager, right? So it is kind of similar logic here. Your resource manager has an applications manager component. This applications manager will talk to different node managers and figure out which of them have free containers. It will figure out one free container to start with. In that free container, it will launch an applications master. Okay, so this app master is basically one for every application. Whenever a new application comes, applications manager will do nothing. It will just find one container and launch an application master. Now this application master is responsible for complete life cycle of that particular application, right? So if you have two applications in the system running, you'll have two application masters running. Your applications manager will first run the app master for first application, and then it will run the app master for second application in some other free container. It could be present on some other node, or it could be present on the same node as well if there is a free container available, right? So for every application, there will be one applications master running, and that applications master will be launched by the applications manager. So this is a chunk of a part of yarn architecture. Let me know, guys, if you have any question about this concept before I move forward. So this is actually very important part of yarn architecture. So if you have any question, if you have any doubt, let me know. I'll not move forward without clarifying this. Okay, Kumar is saying why app need to be there. So which app you are talking about, Kumar? So app is basically an application, right? The application is basically a process or kind of program that you have written which will process the data. So your data is already present on these slave nodes, right? We have already talked about it. So just think about it. You already have your data present on these slave nodes. Now you want to process this data. So for example, let's say you have your data in the form of call data records corresponding to every subscriber. You have duration of or number of calls that he has dropped, right? Now you want to figure out which are the top subscribers who have dropped most number of calls. If you want to figure that out, you want to run some program in this cluster which will read this input data and give you the results. That program, that application is something that you want to schedule in the cluster, right? Okay, if you're talking about app manager, then app manager is basically a kind of, okay, so now let's say this app manager, so basically let's say you're running two applications simultaneously in the cluster. Okay, and for some reason this slave node dies. Okay, for some reason this slave node dies. Let's say it got powered down. Okay, now whatever app master was launched here, that application will is going to fail, right? Because that application master was running here, which was responsible for completing that application. Now if this slave node dies, what happens to the application? That application will fail. But to take care of that, you need some manager at the high level, right? So what happens is, let's say this slave node dies. So whatever application masters were running here, this applications manager was aware of that, right? Because it had launched those application masters. So if application master dies or this node dies without telling the applications manager about the completion of application, then applications manager will figure out that, okay, this application has died, I need to relaunch this application. So this applications manager will again find a free container on some other data node or on some other slave node, and then it will launch an applications master again, so that your application can complete in the second try, right? So you need a high level authority which can manage all these app masters running. Cool, thanks, Kumar. Any other question, guys? So we know what is the role of applications manager, we know what is the role of app master, right? So applications manager will launch one app master per application in the cluster, right? And every app master is responsible for completion of that particular application. Okay, Rajesh is saying if the app master's done with half the job and dead. Yeah, so Rajesh, in that case, your resource manager is going to launch a new app master. So your application will start again. So Rajesh, whatever is the half processed data, that will be cleaned up. So we'll talk about further also, but how exactly applications master further completes the application. So there are scenarios where you don't need to discard whatever has been processed. So we'll talk about that. But for now, at this slide, whatever I have talked about, if that is clear, then let's move forward. So we'll talk about how exactly application master further does its job. So this is like first level of yarn architecture. So this is like a higher level of yarn architecture. We'll dig deeper into it. All right. So now this is the full flow of an application. Now there are a lot of things that we are going to talk about on this slide. So let's be ready. So your client has an application, right, which it wants to run in the cluster. First, your client will create a job object of this application, which means it's like a jar file, right? It's like a Java jar file which contains your application, which needs to be run in the system. And now we already assume that your application is a distributed application which can be run in parallel, which has multiple tasks, which will be running multiple tasks in parallel, right? So one simple example could be that you have a huge file. Okay, so let me just try to kind of write it down here. So so let's say you have a huge file.txt. Okay, and it contains logs. Let's say it contains some logs from some system. Okay, so there is line 1, line 2, and similarly you have you know line n. So there are millions of lines in this file. Okay, and this file is of, let's say, 100 gigabytes, right? 100 gigabytes file. And we already know when you write such a file in HDFS, it will be divided into blocks, and those blocks will be written on the slave nodes, right? So we can kind of assume for now that, one second. So we can kind of assume that, let's say, we have slave 1, slave 2, slave 3, and similarly we have up to slave 10. So this is just an example. So let's say we have 10 slave nodes in our cluster. Okay, and what I am assuming is from line 1 to line, let's say, 1000, they are present on slave number 1. From line 1001 to 2000, they are present on slave number 2, right? So something like that. So similarly, you have your data distributed in the cluster, right? So now this, I'm just assuming that this is like your first block, this is your second block, and similarly you have all your blocks distributed in the cluster. There could be multiple blocks on the same slave as well, right? So once you have like first set of blocks distributed, now next block can again appear on slave 1, and so on. So now you want to process this data, and what you want to do with this data, the problem statement is find out all the lines that contain a word error. Okay, so as I said, these are like your log records, logs from some system, and you want to just filter out all the error logs from this system, right? Now if let's say there is nothing called Hadoop in your life and you want to do it manually, what you would be doing, you would be running a kind of cat. Let's just assume that these are different, this is divided into different files, split into different files, and these files are present on different systems. You'll be kind of doing file 1 and you'll be doing grep error, something like this, right? You are just finding all the lines that contain the word error in that file, and you will be doing this on all the machines in parallel. You can do that on all the machines in parallel, right? So in other words, you are running, so this is your task, this is one of your tasks of your complete application, in other words, right? And all these tasks can run in parallel, right? Does that make sense, guys? Okay, Kumar is saying how many app managers can have on data node. So Kumar, app manager is not present on the data node. So if you look at this last slide once again, your app manager, applications manager is present on the master node, right? On your slave nodes, you have application master. Now, if you are asking how many application masters can run on a single slave node, that depends on the capacity of that slave node. So as I explained that, for example, if you have 4 containers in a node manager, right, on one node, then you can effectively run 4 application masters on a single slave node, right? But these containers are used for something else also. We'll just talk about that in the next slide, right? But at max you can run that many app masters on a slave node, as many containers you have on that slave node. Okay, Mahavir is saying because of some network problem I missed till now, could you please explain only yarn briefly? Yeah, Mahavir, sure, I'll just do that. So basically on this slide we just talked about yarn, which is nothing but resource manager of your cluster, right? And resource manager has kind of applications manager which runs on the master server. Manager receives the application to be run, and for every application, applications manager launches one app master, right? For every application there will be one applications master. Okay, and applications master will then further complete that application. So applications manager will first find out a free container on one of the slave nodes, and it will launch an applications master in that container. Now once that application is complete, that app master will revert to the applications manager saying this application is completed, and applications manager will then tell the client that your application is complete, and then this particular container would be free for running other things, right? So that is what we talked about on this slide. All right, guys, so so we just talked about in example here, right, where we have a file which is like, which contains a lot of lines, and we kind of assumed that these lines are divided into blocks, right? Every block would contain some number of lines, and they are present on different slave nodes. Now our problem statement is to find out all the lines that contain the word error. So my application, whatever application that I write, which will read all this data and filter out all the records which contain error, that application is basically a distributed application. It can be a distributed application which can run its tasks parallelly on all the slave nodes, right? So that is an example of an application which can be run through yarn, right? Now how does that application run in this architecture? Your client prepares the application jar, okay, and it will put that jar into SDFS. Okay, because your now processes need to run on multiple nodes, right? And you are submitting your application from one single place. Your jar, whatever your code that you have written to do that job, needs to be shipped to every slave node, right? Because your code will go to that slave node and it will be run there itself, right? So your code is first copied to HDFS, because from HDFS all the nodes can copy the data, right? After that, it will talk to the resource manager. It will say, I want to run this new application. It will submit the application, right? And as I said, what is resource manager going to do? It will first talk to a node manager, right? It will find a container and it will start your applications master. So in this step, if you see, resource manager talks to the node manager, right? It finds a free container and it will start a MR applications master. So just forget about the word MR for now. It runs an applications master, right? Now this applications master is the master of this particular application. It is job of this application master to get this application completed, right? Now what is this application going to do? This application will read data from HDFS. It will put some logic on that data and it will write the results back, right? So as I said, it will read line by line. It will find all the lines that contain word error and it will return the results back to HDFS or to the client, right? So what happens is, this applications master, it will get the input splits from HDFS. So in other words, it will talk to HDFS, right? It will talk to HDFS and or node name node. It will talk to name node and it will ask the name node where all the blocks of this file are present, right? So we have already told this applications master where is your input present. So just assume that as a parameter I have passed the input path to this application, right? Input path I have already passed. This applications master will talk to name node to figure out where all the blocks of this particular file are present. Okay, it figures out, okay, these blocks are present on these slave nodes at these locations, right? Now this applications master will again go back to resource manager, right? Because now this applications master itself is not going to read the data. Okay, it will further launch multiple tasks. As I said, these are your tasks, right? For example, this is one task, this is second task, right? Similarly, you'll have more tasks running on all the slave nodes that will be processing data in parallel. So, and to run these tasks also, you need containers, you need CPU, you need RAM. Okay, so now your applications master will talk to resource manager again and it will say, okay, because I have just from name node I have just got the information that whatever file I'm going to process, that file, let's say this is not 100 GB, so that was just an example, right? So whatever its size, let's say it has 10 blocks. Okay, let's say this file has 10 blocks, right? So this applications master will tell the resource manager that I want to process data which is present in 10 different blocks. Okay, so that means I need 10 containers to process that data. Okay, and also I know the location of those blocks. I know on which data nodes or on which slave nodes those blocks are present. Can you please give me containers that are present on these nodes, right? So resource manager will talk to node managers which are running on those particular nodes, right, where those blocks are present. It will see if free containers are available on those nodes and it will assign those containers to this particular app master, right? And then this app master will launch a task in each of those containers, and each of that task will then read the actual data from HDFS and process it. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, Mahavir is saying, do we have a single point of failure in resource manager also? Because we have only one resource manager. That's correct, Mahavir. So we have single point of failure in case of resource manager as well. That's a good question. But Mahavir, if you think about it, generally what happens is your data is like a gold mine, right? You don't want to lose your data. Let's say you were processing your data and somewhere your resource manager died. Okay, all you lose is some time in processing the data, right? All you lose is some time in processing the data. Your data is still safe in SDFS, right? So losing your resource manager is not that big of a problem as it was with the uh, name node. Okay, Mahavir is saying then how it is different from MR1. So Mahavir, in MR1, basically, let me just go back to the previous slide. So in MR1, just think about it. On your master machine, you had a job tracker running. Okay, so instead of this applications manager, you had a job tracker running, and there was no concept of app master. Okay, so in job tracker, used to manage every application. It was responsibility of managing every application in the cluster. The responsibility was with job tracker. Okay, so in other words, your job tracker was kind of overloaded in your Hadoop 1.0. Now, because only job of applications manager is to talk to app masters, every app master is managing its own application. So in a way, you have distributed that responsibility in case of Hadoop 2.0. Iva is saying, is the container like a storage for data node? So Iva, there is a difference. So in case of data node, storage was just the disk, right? It was the hard disk where you were storing your data. But a container is nothing but a JVM. A JVM is Java Virtual Machine, right? A JVM is, it needs CPU and memory. So a container is a combination of CPU and memory. Okay, Mahavir is saying, okay, note RM fails, it can't communicate app master even though all app master finishes. Yeah, that's correct, Mahavir. So if your resource manager fails, even if your app masters are, app masters have finished, they cannot communicate with the resource manager, right? Yeah, so that's a point of failure. So that's a point of failure. If your resource manager dies, your processing stops for that duration. So there are ways to have backup of resource manager as well. Okay, but that's not something that is typically used in production. So as I said, Mahavir, only your processing stops, right? Your data is still safe, right? So basically, if your resource manager dies, obviously all the applications that are running in your system at that particular moment, those applications are going to fail. But as your data is safe with the system, whenever the resource manager comes back up, you can relaunch those applications, right? So guys, this execution flow is clear. Any doubts in this execution flow? So your client submits an application, your resource manager gets the application request. It will first launch the app master by talking to a node manager, right? Your app master will then talk to the name node to figure out where are the blocks present that need to be processed, right? And then it will get those resources from the resource manager to run the tasks that can process those particular blocks, right? And then it will launch those tasks. These tasks will directly read the data from HDFS and process that data. Any questions, guys, on this? Okay, Eva is saying one more time. Yeah, sure, Eva. Let me just repeat that once again. So your client wants to run an application. Your application is something that requires, let's say, multiple tasks to be run, right? So just like in this example, you have multiple tasks to be run in the cluster, and that application request goes to the resource manager. Resource manager will launch an applications master, right, on one of the free containers, right? That applications master will talk to the name node in HDFS and get the location of those blocks. Name node will tell the applications master, okay, the blocks, the file that you want to process, the blocks of that file are present on, let's say, these 10 data nodes. Okay. Now this app master will go back to resource manager, because resource manager is the entity which manages all the resources in the system. And when this app master needs, let's say, 10 containers to run the tasks, it will go to the resource manager. Resource manager will try to get those containers from the node managers, right? Once it finds those free containers, or whenever it keeps finding the free container, it will keep assigning that free container to the app master. App master will keep launching a task in that container, and that task is nothing but the code that you have written. Okay, we'll talk about that in MapReduce, how to write that code which can process the data present in HDFS, right? But for now, just assume that you have written some code which can read data and process that data, right? That task will be launched in that container which app master has just got from the resource manager, and then that task will directly read the block from HDFS and process that block. Now there are a few, you know, further important points that I want to tell in this logic. But before that, I want to first make sure that at least whatever I have talked about, that is clear. Guys, the execution flow is clear. Cool, thanks guys. Just a second, guys. Yep. So basically, there are further some important points in this execution flow. So first of all, one important point is, as I said, if you had noticed that your app master will get the location of blocks from HDFS, from name node, and it will tell the resource manager that these are the locations where my data is present that I want to process. Can you give me containers on these nodes, right? Now, what happens if those nodes do not have any free container? As we know, there will be multiple applications running in the cluster at the same time, right? So now it's possible that whatever slave nodes contain the blocks of this particular file, right? All these slave nodes are already occupied. All the containers on these slave nodes are already occupied. What happens in that case? Can anyone guess, or does anyone know already what would happen in that case? So before that, guys, you understand that, right? Why it tries to find a container on the node where data is present? Because if it finds a free container on the node where data is present, your data does not need to move across the nodes, which means your processing is going to be fast, right? If you run your process on the same node where your data is present, your data will be processed faster. If you run your process on a different node, then you will first have to transfer your data on that particular node, and then you will process that data, right? In other words, you are reading data from a remote machine, that will be slow. If you are reading data from a local machine, that will be fast. But now if there is no free container, okay, Mahavir is saying, can you please explain what is a container? So Mahavir, as I said earlier, a container is nothing but a JVM, a Java virtual machine. It is like a CPU and RAM combination. So if your machine, let's say, if your machine is a dual core machine, that means you have two CPUs, right? And let's say you have 4 gigabytes of RAM, or any amount of RAM, right? Let's say you have 4 gigabytes of RAM. Then you can, whenever you are configuring your cluster, you can say that this machine contains two containers, and every container has one CPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM, right? So whenever your application requests for a container, that means it will be assigned one CPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM. So whatever process you are running, right, whatever task you are running, that task will have one CPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM to complete, right? So a container is nothing but your computing resources. Yep, welcome. So guys, what do you think what will happen if there is no free container available on a slave node where your data block is present? Any guess? Okay, Mahavir is saying replication present there it runs. That's a very good answer, Mahavir. I like that. So basically, guys, as we know, data is replicated in HDFS, right? So which means every block is present on three data nodes. If your replication factor is three, every block is present on three data nodes. So if you don't find a free container on, let's say, first data node or first slave node, you will ask the resource manager to find a container on second slave node. If there is no container present on second slave node, you can try on the third as well, right? But eventually, let's say you do not have any free container on all the three slave nodes where your data block is present. In that worst case, your resource manager will allocate a free container on any other data node wherever it is available. Okay, and in that case your data will be moved from its present location to that particular data node to be processed, and that will be kind of slower than the best case. That will be slower than the best case, but still it's better to launch a task when you have a free container, right? That container is anyway lying free there, so it's better to run a task which might be a little slower than the best case, but still it will be better than just waiting for a free container. Yeah, Kumar, I think I just read that Kumar is saying that wait till it is free. So, Kumar, I think I've already explained it, right? It's better to launch a task on other data node wherever free container is available, right? Rather than waiting for a free container. Yep, Mahabir, you're right. Then it will copy the data. If it does not find a free container on uh, any of the data node where data is present, then you'll have to move the data. Yep, that's right, Rajesh. You'll just move the data in read mode. So Rajesh, it doesn't mean that it will change the location of the block, right? So it's just think about it. Whenever you open a website, right? Whenever you open any website in your browser, your data that is being displayed in your browser, that data is being read from a remote server, right? That doesn't mean you're moving the data or you're changing the location of that data. That data still remains on that web server. You're just reading from that remote machine, right? You read the data, you kind of display it in your browser, and that's it. That data still remains with that server. So just like that, in this case also, you read the data from a remote machine, you process that data, you give the results, the original block still remains at the original data node. Yes, remote access of data, that's correct, Rajesh. Right, so obviously remote access is going to be a little slower, but it's better that rather than waiting for a free container which you are not even sure how much time it will take, it's better to launch a task on some remote data node. Right, guys? So that was about data locality. So this particular feature of Hadoop is called data locality, which means it tries its best to run a task on the same machine where data is present, and that is one of the reasons why Hadoop is fast. Right. All right, now another scenario. So we talked about what happens when your application master fails, right? So in the previous slide, we talked about what happens if your app master fails. Your app manager or applications manager will relaunch the app master somewhere else, right? Now, just think about it. What happens when one of the tasks fail? Now one application might have hundreds of tasks running in parallel. What happens if one of those tasks fail? In that case, it is responsibility of app master to relaunch that task. So now let's say your application had 100 tasks, right? Total 100 tasks, and 80 of them have finished, and 81st task has failed. You don't need to run all the 80 tasks again, right? If one of the tasks has failed, your app master will know about it, right? Because it is monitoring the progress of all these tasks. It will again ask for a container from resource manager, right? And it will just relaunch that particular task, right? So you don't need to rerun the complete application. Only a part of application has failed, and that part can be rerun. Does that make sense, guys? If your app master fails, then your complete application fails, and your resource manager or your applications manager within the resource manager will relaunch that app master. If one of the tasks within an app fails, then your app master will relaunch that particular task. Guys, I need some kind of act. Does that make sense? Cool. Thank you, guys. All right, guys. So that was, I think, most of it about Yarn. So yeah, here is another picture. So as I said, there will be multiple applications running in the cluster, right? So this is actually a good picture to display that. So this is your applications manager, right, running on the master machine, and all of these are your slave machines. So now you can see 12 slave machines here, right? So your app master 1 is running on one of the slave nodes, app master 2 could be running somewhere else, and all these app masters could be running their particular tasks on any of the nodes, right? So this is like your view of the cluster. So at any moment there might be multiple app masters running for for different applications, and every app master will have its own tasks running in different containers or different nodes. So that's like a mesh of your containers. Some containers are running app masters, some containers would be running tasks of app masters, right? All right, so Lee has a question here. Yarn overcomes which problem in Hadoop 1.0? I think we specifically talked about it, right? When I think Mahavir had asked the question. Anyone? Okay, Mahavir is saying failure. Rajesh is saying resource management. Yeah, resource management is yeah, close to it, I would say. Although resource management was done in Hadoop 1.0 as well, right? But it was done by job tracker, and all the resource management, complete resource management as well as application management, right? Both these things were done by job tracker, right? And job tracker was overloaded because of that. Kumar is saying high availability. No, Kumar, that's completely wrong. Not high availability. High availability was for just for HDFS, right? So we are talking about the processing part right now. So Yarn basically overcomes the problem of burden on job tracker. So as I said, job tracker used to manage all the applications and all the tasks of those applications. Okay, there was single process running on the master node that used to manage every application in the cluster and every task corresponding to every application in the cluster. So for example, as I just said here, right, whenever a task within an application fails, that particular app master will come to know about it, and that particular app master will relaunch that task, right? Because one app master is just monitoring all the tasks of that particular application. Let's say you have 10 applications running in your cluster. Every application, let's say, have 100 tasks, so you have total 1000 tasks running in your cluster, right? In Hadoop 1.0, job tracker was only entity that was managing all these 100,000 tasks, right? Job tracker was tracking all these 1000 tasks. If any task would fail, job tracker would relaunch that task, right? So that was one process monitoring all the tasks in the cluster. But here, every app master will be monitoring its own tasks. So in a way, you have divided the responsibility. Make sense, guys? Cool. So guys, let's take a 15 minutes break. I have actually spent a lot of energy in last 1 hour. I think my throat needs some rest.